What's going on, my Pausanios? Welcome back to a brand new special video, and today we actually have something different to do today. This is the Half-Life video. I've actually played through the entirety of the Half-Life series, and because of that, I've been wanting to make videos about them and basically what my opinion is. Now, honestly, I've been trying to do this for a very long time, and I'm not going to get into all of that. Maybe I will at the end of this video on like why this is taking so long. But it's been really hard to do this review, honestly do this video, because of the fact that I just had so many setbacks. But now I just want to, just talk about Half-Life. And this isn't the most formal thing, but, video essays are really popular. But the thing is that I just cannot make a script for the life of me. But this will be probably the last, one of the last scripted videos that I will ever do. So that will be that, unfortunately. But hopefully you guys can just come to this video and understand why I love Half-Life as it stands right now. Because Half-Life is super awesome. Just for some context, Half-Life 2 is my favorite first-person shooter game, single-player game of all time. It is freaking amazing. But my opinion about the first Half-Life game might actually upset some of you guys. But I still just want to say I still love the Half-Life franchise. Seriously, I've had an amazing time playing these games, and my history is pretty peculiar, not gonna lie, as a person, as you guys will learn in this video. But yeah, let's get started. Now, Half-Life is considered one of the best first-person shooter games of all time. It was made by Valve back in 1998, and it was headed by the one and only himself, Gaben, or just Gabe Newell. Now, fundamentally, this is a great game, just to kind of get this out the way. But I don't really think it's my thing personally, and I will explain why. This game is set in Black Mesa, which is a secret underground base, and we play as Gordon Freeman, a college graduate in the arts of God knows what this is, who was recently employed by said Black Mesa research team, who are in fact researching the artifacts in the terrain of the planet called Zen. Zen is considered a border world, and in some documents it's said that Zen is supposed to be the ultimate border world, a plane of existence that could give access to all other worlds or dimensions, so no wonder it's so coveted. Not the first-person shooter, but it did actually pave for a more clear foundation, like stuff with like Wolfenstein and Doom that came before, and even Quake. But this was like a more clear. When I think of like the modern first-person shooter, I usually think of Half-Life. So yeah. Well, like I said before, Half-Life 2 is my favorite single-player game, first-person shooter game of all time, just for context. But just as another form of context, shooting games aren't really my thing. Like, I've never really cared for like shooting games in general. It might be because I've never actually been good at them, but on another note, it's probably because I don't really care for guns at all in general. Now, if you're around my age, then you would know the reason why I got into Half-Life because of Gary's mod, which of course is a modification of Half-Life 2. And you'd think that I got into Gary's mod during like 2013, 2014, during that time where it was kind of like trending because like people were like Vanoss and all these other people were playing it. No, I was on YouTube a long time ago, like back in like 2008. I used to watch like Sonic versus Mario videos, like Sonic kills Mario, and I used to be like, what is this game right here? And then I used to, watch stuff like the Gmod Idiot Box and stuff like that. And I was always like, what the heck is this game? Because like it looked like to me like you could play with like toys, like, and stuff like that, and like with Sonic toys and Mario. And I was like, how the heck do you download this game? Which I never found out for like years. I didn't understand freaking Steam and all that stuff. And I had a Mac at the time when I actually did download freaking Half-Life. And by the time 2011 came along, I still didn't even know how to like add the add-ons for like years. It was so ridiculous. But with that being said, Gary's mod did pave the way for me to understand and know what Half-Life was. And it is probably the biggest reason why that oh so amazing Steam Deck even exists, which I've had for like 8 months now. And it's crazy, and I love it. It is my baby, and Now we're just going to get into the game because, why not? The game begins with Gordon entering the Black Mesa research facility, which also has this extremely slow intro, and I can excuse it, even though I hate when a game starts super slow like this, But you know what, it's fine. The game has real-time cutscenes, which means that you're always in control, which even for 1998 was revolutionary. This is actually one of my favorite aspects of the series. As a person who likes to move around a lot and hates cutscenes and QuickTime events and tutorials, all this unnecessary stuff that takes control away from you, Half-Life is the chicken in my bucket. Don't ask what that is. I mean, yeah, there are points where you can't really do anything because like the door is locked off or anything and you're gonna have to listen and sit to dialogue, but you can go into the background and mess around with a casserole or something.
My God, what are you doing?
Making it feel like the game isn't dragging out. To the point where sometimes I didn't even want the NPCs to stop talking since the immersion was so amazing. In fact, on that note, Half-Life's immersion is amazing. Like I said, you're always in control and you get to legitimately link yourself with Gordon. Something the Zelda series actually tries to do, no pun intended, but Link doesn't really act like I do. Gordon is more of a blank slate. Now, while Half-Life is pretty good at this immersion thingy, something I can't stand, I'll get to that later, it also has a major flaw, referring to Gordon by name and gender. I didn't really have a problem with this until I played Portal. In Portal, while you do play as Shell and she is a female, you never really think about your character in the third person sense all that much, until you look at her through the portals, which can be rare. By referring to Gordon by name, it kind of breaks down that specific immersion wall. My thing is, I don't really get immersed as the character I'm playing as in a video game unless either 1, the character literally is nobody, or 2, the game has a custom character creator. Half-Life has a big world that continues and continues and continues. You can go back to different levels if the loading zone allows you to, and I really like that because it makes the game seem like huge. And it really is, because the game is like a one continuous adventure that basically never stops. Now, in terms of the graphics, yeah, this game is kind of like old looking. Yeah, it's very blocky and all that stuff, but I still do think this game has a lot of, low poly charm. And I don't really think just because this game looks like it's old or whatever doesn't mean that it's bad. No, this game actually does look awesome. And honestly, while the animations can come off as kind of stiff, the game still looks great, and I think the animations are actually very well done too in general. So honestly, the graphics in this game are amazing. You just have to understand that you're actually playing a game from 1998, but this definitely looks better than like cutscenes from like Sonic Adventure or something like that. I just have to say that right now. And I am playing with the old models because apparently there's like HD models for this game and apparently they look bad. I don't think they look that bad, but I haven't seen them in a while, but I'll take the original. It's whatever. The only thing about the graphics, which is very common in games, is that multiple NPCs look the same. And I just wish that Valve put more effort into making more differentiating the background characters, changing hair color or something like that, because I think the Half-Life series is probably the most notorious series that I've ever seen that uses multiple of the same, because I don't know how many times I've seen Male 07 in Half-Life 2 and hear the same voice. I know it's saving on resources and stuff like that, but I do wish that was a thing that they actually, they did actually do. Now, also, we're just going to talk about the music. Kelly Bailey wrote the music, and I just love the music in Half-Life. Of course, there probably is other composers, but Kelly Bailey is usually, known for the soundtrack. I love the music in Half-Life, and I didn't really expect myself to really love it. But just to, name just 2, I love the classic, the klaxon beat. It's really awesome. I think it's a really nice, jamming song. And oh my God, don't even get me started about the closing theme of Half-Life. I think the closing theme of Half-Life is the poster child, the ultimate theme song of Half-Life to me. And I just think that it's jamming. This song is amazing. They really did amazing with this soundtrack. But with that being said, I do also want to get into the overarching story of Half-Life, because Half-Life's story is actually one of the most interesting stories ever. And yeah, as a person that's played the entirety of the series' story, it definitely also is interesting for the wrong reason. But at the same time, I just want to get into this. So this is kind of just my abridged plot synopsis. So here we go. This game was actually written by Mark Laidlaw, and it has one of the best FPS stories like I've said. Enough for me to actually be far more interested in the game's story than the game itself. Now, when Gordon arrives at Black Mesa, the exchange crystal, which was mysteriously given to the sciences of Black Mesa, actually has weird properties. With its exotic makeup, it actually consists of matter and antimatter, which is why they use the machine, the antimass spectrometer, which was a device created to use said crystals. Apparently, scientists suspect that if such matter could be discovered or created, then wormholes could be made. Too bad they didn't think of what would happen when said wormholes would be made. Gordon pushes a so-called pure Zen crystal into the antimass spectrometer, but it malfunctions and it explodes, creating a giant portal that sends creatures from the border world previously mentioned, Zen. Creatures not meant to be on Earth invade the facility, killing people and even turning them into zombies. This is all known as the Resonance Cascade, a phenomenon that will be expanded on later. Gordon must now make his way back to the surface and get out of Black Mesa while also somehow getting help. Along the way, Gordon will not only encounter aliens but also the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit, or the HECU, which is a special Marine Corps military force tasked with covering up the now so-called Black Mesa incident, with their goal of killing everyone and everything inside. Kinda scummy if you ask me. Along the way, Gordon even launches a rocket that somehow closes the dimensional rifts, but now Zen is launching an even angrier assault on Black Mesa since they know that their contact with Earth is limited, which basically just means that you have to fight, bigger, better enemies, basically. Gordon continues his fight through the facility where he is also ambushed by the HECU, where he is left to die in a trash compactor. Unfortunately, because they're stupid, they don't stick around to see them perish and just leave them to die, and fortunately, we're able to get up and survive. Here's where things get really messed up. While we have been led to believe that the Black Mesa research team originally had only just started going to Zen to do research, it turns out that they have already tried to actually go to Zen to collect the aliens, possibly for dissecting. Which basically makes it so that they were lying about going to Zen ever. Gordon makes his way to the Lambda complex, where it is then revealed that the rift is being kept open by the so-called Neolith, the big bad of Half-Life, which, of course, if you know what Neolith is, the name is actually a play on the word nihilism. Gordon makes his way through the mysterious alien world, where he then comes face to face with the Neolith itself. It's in this battle that you can actually hear some really creepy and mysterious chanting coming from the Neolith in English that describes someone as not being man, or the truth.
Alone, not you alone, not you alone. Die, you all die, you all die. The last you are, the last you are. Their slaves we are, their slaves we are. You are man, he is not man. For you he waits, for you. The truth, you can never know the truth.
After defeating the creature, Gordon is teleported away by the G-Man. Who is the G-Man, you may ask? Well, definitely he's just gotta be the most mysterious Half-Life character ever. Why? Well, in this game, the G-Man can actually be spotted in multiple areas in this game, watching you, following you, the player, seemingly from out of nowhere in some crazy and creepy spots. He always seems to be one step ahead of you, as if he's guiding you in some way, shape, or form. He also seems to be appearing in places that doesn't seem possible for some normal suit to be able to get to. Who is this guy? The G-Man speaks to Gordon in a very strange manner, almost as if he's not human. He tells Gorman that the G-Man, fuck, you know what, whatever. He tells Gordon that he's impressed by his skills shown throughout the game. He is mysteriously taking your items and your weapons since they're quote-unquote government property, but he also remarks that he has offered Gordon's services to his employers, and then he offers him a job. The player is then given the illusionary choice to either accept employment or to fight in a battle that they have no chance on winning, as the game fades to black. Upon choosing to accept the employment, G-Man says that he will see you up ahead. Honestly, I love Half-Life story. It's very, very simple, but the whole entire thing, like with the, the Black Mesa research team going to Zen, and then it's like kind of like, revealed that everybody is like kind of keeping secrets, like with the HECU, with them wanting to keep this Black Mesa research stuff a secret by trying to kill literally everybody, because literally there's a part in the game where it's like you see the military and you're like thinking, oh my god, they're gonna help us, and then they shoot some random scientists and it's like, what the freak is going on? So, that is really insane to me. But also with the whole thing with the Black Mesa research team actually have gone to Zen. Now, I don't know if that's really necessarily a bad thing for them to go to Zen, but of course, there also was a lot of casualties, because if you go around Zen, you will see a lot, or a couple of like people in like HEV suits, which is basically the main suit that Gordon wears, which is really cool. And I love the fact that the Half-Life logo is accompanied by the, the sound, like when you get like the HEV suit.
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV protective
I must remember to report
for
that
use
fluctuation.
in hazardous environment conditions. High impact reactive armor activated. Atmospheric contaminant sensors activated. Vital sign monitoring activated. Automatic medical systems
I hope those
engaged.
containments are
Defensive weapon selection system activated. Munition
Right on through, sir.
level
Looks like you're in the barrel today.
activated. Communications interface.
Ah, it's good to see you.
Have a very safe day.
But it really is like crazy that like there's so many freaking secrets going on in this game. And I really think, like, you guys have probably seen it on YouTube multiple different times of people talking about like the symbolism and like the crazy creepiness of this game, which I will be getting into later. Half-Life definitely has creeped me out a lot, despite that not really being like the main genre, but it definitely does like really just have such an amazing, like, juicy story, and it's really one of the reasons why I keep playing these games. And we'll get to that stuff later, but I love the story of this game. It's straight up like just 10 out of 10. Mark Laidlaw, I love you, man. Now, like I was saying, Half-Life can be described as a horror game, even though it's technically an action adventure FPS. The reason being is that because this game, for one, has a scary amount of ambience. Barely any music plays, as it only does when it's necessary, like a crazy gunfight or story cue, and even then it fades out and doesn't actually keep playing. The game even has its fair share of minor jump scares and creepy moments, particularly with the zombies. It's actually one of the main reasons why I've been so drawn to this series. I personally love it when there are creepy elements sprinkled into a game that you wouldn't expect to have any. Bonus points that the game is like Minecraft, where it feels creepy to even just be alone. I'm sure y'all have heard of this before if y'all have been on YouTube for the last couple of years. The term liminal space is a so-called internet word that describes a place in the game that is empty or abandoned, or not really just a game but anywhere in general, and as a result this actually makes the place feel eerie. This is especially true if you were to play on a multiplayer map in a game, and at one point said server is known to be lively and full of people, but flash forward about 10 years later and someone didn't actually close the server, so now there's no one to be found, as if something bad happened long ago and now everyone is long gone. Or are they? Now this feeling is usually associated with Valve's Source games, and like I said, this is actually the predecessor engine to that, Gold Source, but I still think this game actually carries that vibe, although I will probably expand more on it in Half-Life 2. because it's not as prevalent as it is in that game or its sequels or anything, but the whole idea of you basically virtually being alone in this godforsaken underground facility as you fight out waves of zombies and soldiers can actually be off-putting. Like I said, yeah, you might feel like a badass by running around and doing what you do, shooting stuff and crowbarring and shooting and snarking and all that stuff. But what happens when the gun stops firing, when the zombies start howling, when you stop and think about the situation that you're in? It's a vibe that features loneliness and helplessness, something that might make it seem like you're never going to get out of here and something absolutely terrible is about to happen. You might be the one free man, but can you be really free from your own existentialism? That might be going too far, but you get the point. There's a lot of dying in this game too. Human life is at the bottom end of the totem pole, and it gives a game a sort of hopeless feeling. Scientists dying left and right by zombies, aliens, the HECU, and even you in a couple of unfortunate instances.
Scientist.
And even speaking of the HECU, there's even this scene. I mean, that one in particular messed me the f*** up. The game just has this somber and depressing feeling. I mean, it's not really somber and depressing, because there's also this feeling of like hope, you know, but at the same time, there's a lot of death and depressing stuff in this game, and it makes you feel hopeless, but there's something there that keeps you going. With like the music provided by Kelly Bailey with like the klaxon beat and stuff like that. You know, I love that song. Okay, so you guys should obviously know how my view lies in between the emotional undertones and atmosphere of the game. So how about we describe something more traditional? Being an action adventure horror FPS, there are lots of guns. And lots of good ones too, like the series' famous crowbar, pistol, SMG, bazooka, crossbow, shotgun, which is my personal favorite, grenades, trip mines, satchel charges, towel cannon, and even a Ghostbusters gun. There's even aliens weapons in this game that behave similarly to human weapons but are arguably better, like hive hands or snarks. You know what's funny? Gordon is explicitly known as a forensic scientist, but yet he can wield all of these military weapons no problem. I mean, there is a training minigame that you can play before you start the game that could hypothetically be the reason why he does know his way around guns, but that doesn't explain the weapons that are alien to him. Did you get that? That was a double entendre. I love that word. Yeah. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the weapons since, again, I'm not really a weapons guy, but I will say that they are all fun and pretty fun to use. I've heard that people don't really think Half-Life has the best shooting mechanics in an FPS. Heck, that's what the mod M-Mod is actually for if you ask me. But I think these guns are pretty awesome considering other games I've played. The one thing that's straight up not awesome is the whole thing with hit scan in this game. Now, I'm not perfect at this, but I'll try to describe it. Hit scanning is when you shoot a bullet at an enemy and the game then calculates specific values in the code to see if that hit should connect. Now, why does it do that? Well, unlike a lot of games today, bullets fired by guns are not actually physical projectiles. Rather, they are invisible values that the player cannot actually physically see, so basically think laser tag. And if I just deconstructed how you see first-person games, well, you're welcome. Now, this practice isn't as used as today as technology has gotten better with like game development in a lot of cases to where a more competitive and accurate way has been able to be developed. But still, hit scanning from what I can tell is a very hit or miss situation. Literally. Hit scanning is honestly the reason why I can't really get down with the combat in this game. There is absolutely no skill involved in it besides just pointing and shooting at enemies and just hoping to God that they will connect, and it's even worse when you're going up against AI enemies who will, because of their AI, be able to kill you with ease. There's probably just the fact that I suck at shooting, but I also think there's a problem with the difficulty in this game, as it seems as if your enemies can take copious amounts of damage while you seem like a sitting rat in a house full of trap-proof cheese. Why do I keep saying truth? It's trap-proof cheese. What the freak? The difficulty is very unbalanced. I'm not a pussy, so I decided to play the game on normal. Keyword there is normal. At first, everything is alright, but about an hour in is where the quick saving galore comes into play. For a long-time veteran, these are probably no challenge, but for a first-time player like me who had no idea where the enemies were going to surprise attack me or how they were going to approach me in general, this was an absolute nightmare. So much so that I decided to enable cheats after I got outside. Yup, I was so done with the gunplay that I thought having infinite ammo was the more fun option. Some would call that scrubness. Other would call it, it's my game, I bought it with no money, I'm gonna have fun, and this isn't a fighting game, and I have other games and other things to do. At least for me, and oh my god, this fucking part. Remember the fucking airplanes I was fucking mentioning earlier? First off, let's get the rid of this goddamn stupid turret that you wouldn't know on your first playthrough like I did. And also, these fucking airplanes, right? Fucking bombing the fucking entire place. And you wanna know the worst part? It's under, they go fucking through the shits. They go through the shits. You can't even fucking see these fucking aircraft, airships. You can't see this shit. And fucking look at me. I fucking just locked myself into a damn soft lock. A quick save soft lock, I should say, or whatever. And this is the fucking point of the game where I got fucking irritated. I can't fucking stand shit like this, right? How the fuck was I supposed to know this was supposed to happen? How the f was I supposed to know an aircraft was gonna like drop a couple bombs on me, talking about some god, let's blow your ass up? So you know what the f I did? I enabled all of I did my cheat, got all the weapons in this game, and also enabled God mode. Because you know what? F this game. If it's gonna do something like that and make it not fun for me to play, then f it. I know some people like out there are gonna be like, oh, f what the f is wrong with you? You're making this game like not even that much challenging anymore. Well, f it. This is how I play games, alright? When I'm playing Doom, I like to feel like a goddamn ass, alright? And that's one of the best shooting games I've ever played. I love games like that. That's what makes games fun to me. If you're gonna play a game that's not fun to you, then what the f is wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like the great Reggie said.
If it's not fun, why bother?
If Half-Life was not fun to me, then I would stop playing this game. But the only thing is that holding me back from not doing that is because of the fact that Half-Life 2 and all the other games in the series are fun. I mean, I'm not too sure about Opposing Force and, you know, what's the other one? Blue Shift yet, but, you know, if it's not fun to me, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if I'm cheating. I don't give a fuck if it's not right. I don't give a fuck if this is not canon or whatever the fuck some nerdy shit is gonna say. Alright? This is fun to me. Right? You can still experience the story, you just can't die now. Right? I'm just shooting, going through jumping around and like it's fun to me like that. And I don't give a how it is. And also, this is different from other playthroughs. All these other playthroughs out there will probably try to, you know, beat the game legitimately. Well, that. This is my let's play. This is my channel. This is my video. I'm making my own rules. If you want to go watch some other person on YouTube, then go watch them. Watch them do the that someone has already done like 10,000 different times. And before we move on, I just want to say that while I have never played the entirety of Half-Life by myself before, I have played Half-Life a crazy amount of times with like my friends, with like Saven Co-op or like Synergy or anything like that, Gary's Mod even. I've played Half-Life a lot of times with my friends and done multiple playthroughs with them. But the thing about playing Half-Life and games with people is that, well, I'm playing with people who know the game. Like, basically, when I'm playing with my friends, I'm playing with them, people who actually know how to play the game and all that other stuff. And I, personally, don't know how to play the game, so I'm the one that's actually being carried. It's one of the reasons why I actually had a goal to play Half-Life by myself and not bring any of my friends along, because I know that I wouldn't get the full Half-Life experience, because I know for a fact that they played by themselves, and no, I just want to go into the fray. Yes, I was basically like the small child being released and shown, like basically told to like, you know, just play the game or whatever. I wanted to go on my own, on my own journey, basically. Oh yeah, by the way, you ever used save states on an emulator before? Well, Lord and behold, that's what quick saving is. There is absolutely no limit to how many times you can quick save or quick load, and the result of this is just extremely perplexing. On one hand, I've never seen a game actually do this before, where they actually give you so much power over how you play, but I also think of it as a way to cheat in the game as well. It's basically a double-edged sword. If you've ever used save states in the game constantly, you can understand firsthand how much of a pace breaker they can actually be. So much so that they can make the game frustrating but also not fun at the same time. That can also be the case here if you're too frantic with it. At the end of the day, it is an optional feature that you can use or not use, but since it is there, it's practically impossible not to use it. Even speedrunners use it, I'm dead serious. With Half-Life's gun-toting gameplay also comes a bit of platforming and puzzle solving. At one point, I wasn't really a fan of puzzle elements until I played, well, Portal, which completely changed my perspective on that. So when a puzzle game is actually done right, I can actually get down with it. Super Puzzle Fighter 2, anyone? Yeah, I love that game. Yeah, I always play it. Yeah. Felicia Morgan. Most of the puzzles that I encountered were actually pretty well designed, even with some of the usual grievances I have with this stuff like backtracking, but the puzzles generally made me feel like I was a scientist trying to solve a solution to a problem, no matter how big or small, and it definitely added to the meat and potatoes of the game. And yeah, I was definitely confused a couple of times, but I mean, looking back at it, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, I usually get confused a lot of the time, and I've done a lot more of this stuff with stuff like Shantae and Metroid, so I'm used to it. What didn't add to that was the platforming. It's horrendous. Now, as a person who loves the likes of Mario, Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, you know I love platforming games, but for some reason, this rarely applies to FPS games. Heck, I actually know no FPS game that actually has good platforming mechanics, and Half-Life is no exception. The depth perception, the requirement to jump crouch for a large amount of obstacles, and the general annoyance of it all kills the momentum every time it comes up. Even when you get the long jumping section towards the end of the game, it still doesn't negate the general distaste I have for it. And even then, you only have it for about 10 to 20 minutes. Another problem with this game is arguably the pacing. Well, not in terms of story, but the setting locales. I cannot tell you how many times I have picked up and then immediately put this game down after about 2 hours of running around the claustrophobic halls of Black Mesa. Like I said before, the mood does do the game wonders, but once you get over that, it makes someone like me super angsty get out to the surface. And the worst part is that there are a couple of occasions where the game gives you a glimpse of something different, and then immediately the game trolls you and lulls you back into the dark and echoey halls of the facility. So much so that by the time I did get outside, I just wanted the game to end. Now that's basically it for what I would have to say about like the gameplay in general. So now it's time for like, you know, miscellaneous stuff, like other stuff I really just want to talk about. For one thing, I did get some motion sickness in this game. I got a huge amount of motion sickness, and you know, I usually get motion sickness very easily. Like, for one thing, I actually got motion sickness with like Super Mario Odyssey. I really got motion sickness with that game. It's probably one of the reasons why I only did one amazing playthrough, because I love that game. Like, you know, back when the game first came out back in 2017, or like the end of 2017, because I got it in Christmas, and then I just never played the game again, you know. And I love that game to death, and I probably do need to do like another playthrough, but I just could not, because I got motion sickness from it. And another game like, you know, Doom 2016, that game is freaking phenomenal, but that's another game I haven't played in a long time because I got motion sickness. And this happens with a lot of stuff. It's something about me just wanting to move around, and me being, you know, like how motion sickness like actually works with like me being like disassociated with the actual like stuff happening on screen. So if you're experiencing motion sickness like I was, then the best thing to actually do is to actually lower the, you know, the FOV to like 90. I think that really worked for me. I had to go into the console and just type in FOV_90, and I changed the FOV, and that basically let me play the game for as much as I can. I wish you could do this in like every game, because I remember there was another game that, you know, you just couldn't change the FOV, and I was getting motion sickness in that. So thank God Half-Life actually does allow you to do that, because yeah, I mean, it really doesn't, it's not like a dejection towards the game, but it also is a pretty fast game. Like Half-Life in general is like very fast paced, so, you know, getting motion sickness with this game is like super bad. I just know. Now, Half-Life does have like multiplayer, and one of those things that one of like the things that you can actually do with the multiplayer is Half-Life Deathmatch. Half-Life Deathmatch is is actually one of the oldest videos I have on this channel. Actually, I've had 2 Half-Life Deathmatch videos with like my friends, and it's basically what it is. You just play in like Half-Life theme maps, and you play in a deathmatch. Now, I played with about 2 of my friends, but you can play with more, you can play with less. and it's really fun. I think it is. I mean, I really sucked back in the day, because one reason why I probably like did not actually play like FPS games back in the day was because of the fact that I played with a trackpad. I don't know why I just didn't get a mouse. I haven't actually gotten a mouse since probably like 2016, 2017, and I still can't believe I used to do that. I cannot edit, I cannot do anything on my computer without a mouse, and I still use a laptop to this very day until I build the amazing Sonic PC. But I just never, I don't know why I did that for the longest time, but I used to suck. I probably would do better now, but you know, that's just that. You know, Half-Life Deathmatch is pretty cool. Although, to be honest, you can't play through the campaign in Half-Life unless you have something amazing called the amazing Seven Co-op. Seven Co-op is absolutely amazing. I love this game. It's free also, by the way, so I mean, you can literally download it and play the entirety of Half-Life with some friends and stuff like that. So if you want to do that, I mean, I would just buy Half-Life in general anyway. But yeah, it is an amazing, basically like Half-Life, like, you know, modification where you can actually play a whole lot of maps. And it's not even just like Half-Life. Like, if you probably have heard some other mods like They Hunger, you know, Afraid of Monsters and stuff like that. There's lots of freaking amazing mods for this game, and I just love Seven Co-op for that. In fact, I'm still trying to get my friends and us to play like Afraid of Monsters and stuff like that, and maybe even like the original Half-Life, because I really think it's really fun to like play with other friends. Because the thing about games is that at the end of the day, if you have some friends along with you, anything can be actually enhanced. Like, the fun that you would normally have with it can definitely be enhanced if you just have friends with you. But speaking of mods, there also is lots of mods for freaking Half-Life. You know, there's freaking tons, and I mean tons of mods. Half-Life is known as one of the most modded games of all time. Not just from like cosmetics, I'm talking about like entire campaigns and stories and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna get into like the whole crazy amounts of these like mods on YouTube, but I will highlight, again, like I said, They Hunger, Afraid of Monsters, and recently what I actually played on my VideoCam channel, Cry of Fear, which actually was literally the scariest game I've ever played. And I'm saying that as like definitively, it was scarier than Five Nights at Freddy's, scarier than Silent Hill. Well, I've never played Silent Hill, but like freaking what's that game called? Outlast. Freaking Poppy. I've never played Poppy either, but the point is that game scarred me psychologically, and I could not play that for a long time, but I finally did. And that is a modification of Half-Life. Sometimes I can't even believe that it's a modification because it's super heavy, but it's such a great mod, and I definitely do recommend it. But yeah, that's actually an example of like the amazingness of the Half-Life modding, and there's like way more that you could probably get into on YouTube from like another person talking about it, but I can't get into that because we'll be here for like another like 20 years, like literally. So yeah. Now, this was actually the start of Valve. Like, this game was actually Valve's like first game, and it wasn't really the start of Steam, but it really was, because like Steam launched in like 2004 and still is an amazing thing today. It's probably like my favorite video game platform. And yeah, it was like launched like 5 years later after this game, but still. Did you know that this is actually one of the first person games to actually used WASD as the default PC keyboard control scheme? Yeah, it's actually really crazy that they were like the first. I think before it's probably like the arrow keys or whatever, which is really crazy. Honestly, this game's like development was like pretty ambitious. Actually, Valve actually struggled to find a publisher for this game, which is insane to me, because I can't believe that, you know, what if Valve was like working under Sega? Like, what if they were working under like Nintendo, or well, Microsoft wasn't making like, you know, games at the time, but like other publishers like that. Like, what if freaking Valve was like under Capcom? Like, how different would this be? Sometimes when there is an absence of something, it really is like a blessing for something. I think I can like kind of interpret that, like this situation as that, and that's really cool. Now, another thing is that the whole thing about cutscenes, like not having like no cutscenes in this game, was actually an accident, which actually reminds me of like the GTA like hot and chase glitch or whatever it's called, where it causes like the police to like crash into you, and then that's where they got their like idea for like GTA originally, which is really cool. Now, about a year later, Half-Life actually did have some expansions. Well, they're called expansion packs, which think of it as DLC. Half-Life Opposing Force, you have controls as Adrian separate, which is an HEC unit, sent to invade Black Mesa, who is separated from his team and now has to fight a group of aliens called Race X. A lot of people really, I don't know why I said like a lot of people, but a lot of people really do like Half-Life Opposing Force. It's really amazing. And the same thing goes for Blue Shift, I think. Half-Life Blue Shift was originally a Dreamcast exclusive campaign for Barney Calhoun, whose adventure is about him escaping the facility. This was apparently supposed to be for the Dreamcast, which, yes, this game was going to have a Dreamcast release, but the Dreamcast failed, so they canceled it. I think you can find a build of it somewhere online, and you can actually play it on a Dreamcast or somewhere, because it's insane. How many freaking games probably had like ports of like stuff like that and they just wouldn't scrap, never heard about for like years. Then Half-Life Decay came out, which actually still to this day is a PS2 exclusive port of original levels with female protagonists, Gina Cross and Colette Green, which is actually kind of depressing because it's heavily implied that these two characters die in the midst of Half-Life's campaign. And they basically are kind of trying to do, navigate through the Black Mesa research thing. Actually, they're the people I think that, saved the day, kind of. I forgot how it's explained, but like they kind of helped Gordon. Like if they didn't do what they did, then Gordon wouldn't have been helped. I don't know if it's canon according to Mark Laylaw, but honestly, Mark Laylaw also says that Half-Life Opposing Force isn't canon, and I just have to completely disagree. I love it when like they have like multiple different canons going on and stuff like that. So also I think he said something about canon not being a real good word to describe some things, but yeah. Now last year in November 2023, the 20th anniversary of the game came out, and Valve added additional content for the game, like 4 new multiplayer maps, Steam Deck support, rendering improvements, and even support for 4K monitors. They also released an hour-long documentary about the game detailing their development as they reminisce about the game, and I definitely highly recommend it. It's a really great find, and it really does make you understand the passion that they put into this game. And with that being said, that is Half-Life. Half-Life is just generally an amazing game. But like I said before, it's not really for me. Now, Half-Life for me, unfortunately, like I said, I couldn't really get into the combat because of the fact that I just kept dying a lot, and I just had to enable like, infinite ammo over time. And I know I said earlier that I didn't understand like why people did not like the shooting in this game, because I thought it was fine. I do think the shooting itself is fine, but it's just the whole stuff of like dying. I played on normal mode. I didn't think I would actually have to play on like easy mode or whatever, which it's just completely different. It's like shooting the guns and like receiving damage. To me, those are two different things. I just didn't like that, and also it's just super weirdly not that much accurate. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah. With that being said, I think the story though, although to be honest, like I didn't really like the combat that much or the platforming, I did like the puzzles, I did like all that stuff, but I did freaking love the story of Half-Life. The story of Half-Life is super enticing, and like I said before, I was really interested in uncovering like all the secrets of Black Mesa. And honestly, in all, the unforeseen consequences or the resonance cascade had super ramifications like on the entirety of the Half-Life. This is the reason why Half-Life even like really exists. And I just have to say that we have just scratched the iceberg of this like game, and I will be trying to like review the other games in the series as time goes on, but for right now, that's pretty much for Half-Life. If I had to give Half-Life a score, I think I would definitely give it probably about like a 7.5 out of 10. The point of the matter is that I think that the game is amazing, but the combat itself is a little bit unfair, and I do really wish that the game had better pacing, because like I said, I was just kind of like, at one point I was like, man, I just want to get out this claustrophobic hallways of Black Mesa. But that didn't happen for a while, and then when I got actually out there, I was like, man, what the freak? And then when I got to Zen, I was just like, oh, I just want the game to end at this point. But yeah, with that being said, that is finally the Half-Life video. Hopefully, I will finally get this video done, because this has been on the back burner for a long time for absolutely no reason. But I will be getting into Half-Life 2. But I think I might want to cover something else. Like, I kind of want to do like some mods. I definitely want to review stuff like Cry of Fear, which again, that's a mod of Half-Life, and that is literally the most scariest game of all time to me. I really just can't, there's nothing else that's worse than that. And I really want to talk about that. I might talk about Afraid of Monsters. I might talk about the DLC. You guys let me know what you guys want me to talk about. Maybe I will consider it. But with that being said, guys, that is the Half-Life video. We will be doing Half-Life 2 pretty soon, or whenever the freaking Armageddon comes, probably at this point, because of how weird I am with, like, you know, procrastination and stuff like that. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, subscribe if you want to see more. I have a Twitter, which is KamyKam77. You know, in the link description down below, as well as a Discord server, link description down below as well. With that being said, guys, thank y'all for watching. Have a good night, everyone watching this. Hasta.